We'd like to start out by thanking our valuable sponsors. Sense of Satisfaction by Cricket is the place for all your fragrance needs. Plus, she's got products to heal what ails your skin and your hair. Shop at scentsbycricket.com. Special thanks to our valued sponsor, John Travis, a financial coach and certified Kingdom advisor with Richard Young Associates, a registered investment advisor. Thanks goes to Anna Patterson, my sister in the Lord who faithfully gives to this ministry every month. And to our newest sponsor, LaToya Gerard of Preach the Word Worldwide Network. She is a valued sponsor and a major encourager regarding this ministry. We need and would love to have you as a sponsor. Absolutely no gift is too small. Please note the info regarding giving throughout and at the end of the show, and help us spread these testimonies around the world. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily the viewpoints of our sponsors. It's time to hear the story, make the connection, learn the lesson, and gain the wisdom. Are you ready? Let's get charged and be changed. The Sister Speak Brother Break Show. Conversations on grace, healing, and deliverance. This is Marcy Bush. Come on, let's journey together.
We was arguing one day. She was holding Jakira, and she was like, "You know how I can tell you always drunk?" I said, "How?" She was like, "Every time you get drunk, whenever you talk, your head moves." Here I am trying to hold my head still. Like, what you mean? Every time I talk, my head moves. Every time my head moves, my head don't be moving. And so that's when she realized that I was drunk, because I would say I was a functioning alcoholic. Like, I can do things, I was still attentive. I can do normal day-to-day activities. Mm-hmm. But influence, I smell like alcohol. Mm-hmm. We got in an argument, a huge argument one day, and she was holding Jakira, and I don't know if I said something that struck a nerve, but she hauled off and slapped me. Mm. And I said, "I ain't taking this. I'm slap you back." I tried to slap her back, ended up slapping Jakira. Mm. At the time, Jakira was small. Mm. And that about took me out. Because at that time, I think that's when life hit me. Almost like that slap was meant for my face, because at that time, that was the worst. I think that was the worst thing out of deployments, out of being, in the Army, being in the field, in the rain, in the snow, whatever, being on ranges and all that. Right. I daughter, and she cried. And that I didn't even see a reason to live after that. Because I hurt her in a way. I physically hurt my daughter, So it was, I think at that moment I was ready to end life, because for one, my marriage was not the way it was at the beginning. I'm right. Still, you ain't never going to be the same, because this is what I was expecting from you. And then now we arguing, and then I'm a child abuser.
Where did it immediately take you? Like, you still were you able to say, this is the problem? Mm-hmm. Or were you thinking, I'm a problem?
I was thinking I was the problem. And it was influenced by alcohol. I was thinking I was the problem. I was ready to end it all that night, but it was a lot of crying and dragging and holding me back and doing a bunch of stuff. that delayed it.
Mhm.
I got involved with the church called Metamorphosis Outreach Empowerment Center.
Mhm.
And they used to have every last Friday in the month, they used to have men groups where we all get together, um, talk about some things. That's one of the guys will bring forth the word, and then we'll move to the back, play dominoes, and just fellowship. Play spades, dominoes, and laugh and joke real loud. What men do, you know.
Right.
And then I told them what happened, and they had they brought me in.
Mm.
They helped me, they held me up, they held me accountable, they encouraged me, they coached me, um, they checked on me. They took me out to do things. They would come to the house and sit down and talk with me, or I'll go to their house. It was just that's what helped.
Yeah.
That's what helped save my life.
Mm.
And I know that wasn't just them doing it. That was the God in them that was doing it to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
that's
feel you had sought Jesus at any point once you left community college and went on? Did you pursue even church? Did
mm,
you pursue, your relationship with Christ? Just what did that look like in those years between metamorphosis, before metamorphosis, but when you were in the service? What was your relationship like with God then?
it. It was. I knew that I eventually needed to go to church, but at the time I couldn't trust anything, because at the time it was almost like I didn't. If you wasn't my dad in the pulpit, I don't want to have nothing to do with
Okay.
you, because the churches, you know, has seen churches come and go. Some churches was just wasn't preaching the same, or I
Mhm.
was so used to something. And then it wasn't until my dad was saying, he was like, "Joe, why you ain't been to church? You went to church today?" I'll call him on Sunday. "You been to church?" "No, sir. No, I just don't trust." He was like, "Joe, I don't make sense."
Mhm.
You're like, "You can't fly from Germany to come to my church every Sunday."
Right.
And I was like, yeah, Dad, but if it ain't you, I don't want to hear it.
Mm.
And he was like, nah, you might want to. Then I just, whatever he tell me, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. And then it wasn't until I met Kale, we went to church. When we got married, I got baptized by him. And at that time, I wanted to be serious, but I think that the baptism was more to show everybody that, okay, I'm serious this time, and
Okay.
not to show myself.
Right.
It's for people to think that of me. Okay, he's good this time. He's serious this time. And then he's going down in the water, and that's a huge step. We proud of you, and that felt good. And I was like, yay, everybody's proud of me. I'm doing this. I wish my wife could go down with me, but she was there, proud of me too.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we went to Missouri. And that was before the slap.
Okay.
We went to Missouri, and I was still back to alcohol.
Okay.
You know, um, but after the slap, I don't know why we referencing the slap. After the slap, once I realized that alcohol was a problem, and that I needed help, and I couldn't do it by myself, and I realized, and once I got into the men group, and they was holding me up accountable, and you know coaching me into success, we got baptized together. And that's when I realized that we are doing this together. We're in it together now. So the foundation that everything started to opening up, like everything that I was taught back as a child, all them sermons I listened to, it was starting to come piece by piece, and it was almost like that's when Christ opened up my understanding. Because when me and her went down and got baptized together, it was like night and day. It wasn't hard to cut off the alcohol. It wasn't hard to there was times where there was a little struggle, but it wasn't hard anymore. It wasn't hard struggling with PTSD anymore. And it was maybe a little challenge every now and then, but it wasn't. That's when I realized that the foundation of our marriage was built wrong.
Okay.
Because I always wanted things to go back to the beginning of how we partied and met and all that stuff. And it took time. But once I started taking away from that foundation, which was easy, because that foundation don't stand on anything. If it's standing on alcohol and partying, it was easy placing it with Christ, now walking. Now we're going to church. Now we're understanding what things. Now we're talking about the Bible. Now we're going to Bible study together. We're getting in groups. We're doing things. We're involved. She was praise dancing. I was playing the bass. I played the keyboard. We was having kids.
Right.
It started to all make sense now. And then where I wasn't no longer missing the part of the beginning of our marriage anymore. Okay. Now it was a new beginning from baptism, from baptism until now. Well, let's walk this way.
Yes. Yes.
And God has blessed us.
Yes. Well, look, you just brought up something that you had not said before. Tell us about the PTSD. Can you tell us? What do you, are you willing to tell us? Or is that something you don't want to walk through right now?
Well, it's a lot, and I'm trying to compact and trying to zip it up into
because look, if you need to go, I respect that. But if you're trying to zip it up because of people, or because of my time, I'm here for this. Like, because there will be somebody who is not having a difficult marriage. So even though they hear that part, the PTSD is going to speak to somebody that the alcohol or the difficult marriage didn't speak to. And it is all a part of your journey. And so I'm here for your journey. And you don't have to try to give me the bite-sized version.
Abbreviator.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start with that. It just I know, well, because I was on deployments. I would say it all come from that. Just being deployed in general, just being involved with IEDs, being shot at.
What is an IED?
Improvised explosive device. That's where they're set on the side of the road and kind of time it for when your vehicle come in and blow it up. I remember one. It was funny, not funny, not funny, but we was all dismounted into crit, and then it was my 4 trucks, and then I think somebody yelled up, "Let's mount up." And once we did that, we was on Market Street, and it was at night. And my gunner Overhofer, I love that guy to this day. He was he called it out. Hey, we got a flower bed coming up, because it was kind of like a T intersection. All right. And I let him know, hey, we turning right at the flower bed. And the flower bed was separating, oncoming traffic. As soon as we decided to turn right, the flower bed blew into pieces. And the only thing I can remember was the little yellow buttercup in the windshield. It was in the windshield Like I couldn't hear anything, I couldn't see anything, but unless I couldn't see anything, but I do remember that little yellow buttercup that was right there. Took a while for the hearing to come.
Right.
Like I see buttercups different to this day.
I bet.
But it was that's what I mean by like just things that remind you of,
Mhm.
deployments and some of the situations that you was in. So that's what I was struggling with. Some of the things that will remind me of like group setting. Like if the commissary in Korea was the first one was small, and it was but they packed so much stuff in there that whenever I go in there, it would feel like Market Street in Tikrit.
Okay.
People everywhere, and there was different languages, and it would just throw my anxiety through the roof.
Okay.
And then I didn't like large gatherings, or I didn't like certain things out the buttercups that reminded just things that you would see in Iraq, trash, loud sounds. The fireworks was a while, but then I just got involved and started doing the fireworks myself, and that helped out.
Okay.
But there at the time, like that was my memory. So I hadn't been in so many explosions that I couldn't remember anything. And I know she noticed it, and she was like, remember what I was telling you the other day about? I was like, remind me, please. And then I'll go to counseling over it, and then they'll tell me to write get like a reminder book. But then I'll forget to write things in the reminder book, or I'll forget that I got a reminder book to remind me of things, And so they end up sending me to Columbia, Missouri, to a TBI specialist, and that's when I got diagnosed with traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
Yeah, that they did a little study. I felt like a little lab monkey in there, trying to do little exercises and all that. And that's when they diagnosed me with traumatic brain injury, and told me this is the reason why.
And
So
so traumatic brain injury, let me ask, so is it a physical thing or is it like a mental or emotional thing? So like, were you ever physically hurt by the explosives, by the things, or was it what it did to your mind?
I think it's physical because of the blast itself, what it
Oh,
did. I don't know I don't know the whole details of it, what it did to the shock wave and
okay.
the jerk movements and the concussions or whatever caused that.
Okay.
But I know I got to wear special glasses now. The ones that get too bright outside, they automatically tint. That was all ordered in the Army and all that. If I want to have my windshield tinted and all that, but yeah, that all came with the PTSD, and then I think yelling and screaming was another one that would kind of trigger and send me off into where I want to drink.
Okay.
And I think that's when I realized that I was drinking because of something, and not for fun anymore. Not to socialize. I was drinking now for a reason.
Okay.
To cover all that, or
How
to
What made you go to, because we both know in our communities, like now it's more normal, but for a while, like therapy, please, counseling, no, mental, what? And so what was it that how did you even connect with mental health professionals?
So through the Army, you have they call it a health assessment. It's a post-deployment health assessment. Health risk is a PDHRA or something. I forget now. I've been out for a minute. but it's a post-deployment health assessment, and you got to answer the questions as truthful as possible. And once you do that, that'll determine whether you need to go see a counselor or not at the end. So once you reach the end of that health assessment, it would either automatically schedule you one or have you go see your primary care to someone because you didn't score where they think you're scoring at. And that's how it started. Was that first deployment, I scored nowhere near where I needed to, I guess. And they needed to go see. They recommended that I start seeing a psychologist or psychiatrist. But like even when I met Kel, I was going through some of the counselings and I was on medicine. I was on medication. I can't remember back, but I know it was 3 of them. One to put me to sleep, one of them to calm me down, and one of them to pick me up. But so it was that and alcohol and PTSD. But that's what Moet helped me. That's what Metamorphosis Outreach Empowerment Center kind of, once we got to Missouri, once we got baptized, it was all that was. They got the full package. But those guys, meeting Christ, being baptized with my wife, and then Christ meeting me where I was at, is when all that stuff I realized I didn't need it anymore. As long as I had my better half and we was walking together with Christ, it was unnecessary for those things.
Right.
So it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful. Like that whole thing. You know how sometimes you see these portrayals of baptism and the people come down and they come up and it's just like this aura, this beautiful thing. That's the image that I get.
Yeah, we got a photo somewhere of our house downstairs. Since we get the new floors, everything is in the garage. But the photo was somewhere where they had different images of us before we went in the water, when we was down in the water, coming back out, us hugging, and I guess being filled with the Holy Ghost.
Yeah. And so even as you talk about those men,
is that loud?
I heard something 1 minute and then I didn't hear any. 1 little second and then I didn't hear. But as you talk about those men at Metamorphosis and what they meant, even as a man, whether people are in the Lord, definitely helps when they're in the Lord, but even some man who may be watching this and just feels like he's been alone, or that maybe he can do it on his own. What do you have to say about the power of being surrounded by godly men?
That's what I've saved my life. Christ saved my life, but through those guys is what helped save my life. I always been I wouldn't say always, well, from what I can remember, I didn't really want to hang with anyone. I was a by myself person. If I need to do something by myself, if I need to do something, there was nobody to do it with me. Now I don't mind doing it by myself at all. Even Kel says sometimes, you meet some new friends. When we got to Korea, you meet who you talk to, and I was like, I don't really need to talk to anybody. I'm good. Missing what I had back in Moet, knowing what they brought to the table, because you don't know it all. There's always someone that been through it, or that went through something similar, or that even if it wasn't the similar situation, what helped them through a entirely different situation could be something that helped you through what you're going through. If you're struggling with PTSD, as the Army would say, go get counseling, get a group of men. You want to change them. They called it BAM, be a man. And you want to change the city, grab a man, grab a group of men, to do even bigger and better work.
Mm-hmm.
Being a man and admitting that I had an issue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing that I did, was admit I had an issue. Once I did that to them, there was a no judge zone.
Yeah.
It was like, it was a relief, because it was like, oh, you too? It was kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
I hope you ain't going down the I feel bad road, because we all hit it. And it was like, oh yeah, it was like a whole, you wasn't by yourself.
Okay.
There was, and then one of the things Minister Harris said to me, he was like, if you ain't really struggled with an addiction, don't really come telling me how to be healed from addiction.
Right.
What better way to hear it from someone that was struggling also with an addiction, of
Yeah.
how they came through. Now, how they're on the other side of through.
Yeah.
How it looks for them coming through it. And I was like, that makes sense, man. Tell me, help me, do whatever you got to do. It was like, all right, we got you. And that's what it was, a group of men that grabbed me in, and to the point where now I'm standing there helping other folks, encouraging, hey, you got this. What are you doing today? Hey, would you get off? Come on, let's go out. Let's go get some wings or something,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, don't be afraid, man.
Yeah.
Don't try to sit there and bottle all that up. Grab you some friends, or the good ones, the good golly men, get in a life group, get somewhere. You can find them. They're everywhere. They're in them places that feels uncomfortable when you go in. Church, they don't want to go to church. A lot of people don't want. I don't know why they're so scared of the church will burn up. Joking. Church gonna walk in. It's paid for that.
Yeah.
Get there.
Yeah.
Get there. The Lord will lead you once you get there. Don't lead you, He'll lead somebody to you. So just get there.
At the church you're at now, because I know you said you miss Moet, you miss those men. So I want
Thanks so much for joining us today. If you've been blessed by today's show, feel free to let us know. And if you'd like to sow into this ministry, become a sponsor, or contact us, you can reach us at 803-221-0169. Or you can email us at the SSBBshow@gmail.com. Let's continue this journey together.